It was New Year's Eve, 2009. After reaching our destination, a group of us stood beside the fence talking. Before long, one couple broke off from the group and pulled me to the side with them. We walked down the fence line so they could talk with me in private. They informed me of their plans to return later that evening after the tour was over, and that coming out with me was about showing them how to get there. I asked them that if anything was to happen, they contact me. I also wanted to see their photos in case anything was to appear in them. Before we rejoined the group, the husband snapped a flash photo of a corner where two fences met and where we were talking. In that photo was a silhouette of a man invisible to the human eye. He was on the other side of the fence and appeared to have a cigarette or toothpick in his mouth. This reminded me of a photograph taken in that same location back in the 1990s by the previous homeowner. In their flash photo, a humanoid figure was leaning against the fence. His face looked flat, and he had large, yellow eyes. Was this the same guy, and was he listening in on the conversation about them sneaking back later that night? You know he was, and boy, did he have a surprise waiting for them. We drove back to the shop and everyone said goodbye. A few days later, I received an email from them. The husband wrote,
"While standing close to where we took the photo of the invisible guy earlier that night, my wife felt her hair stand on end. Something or someone is right behind me, she told me, and we need to leave immediately. As we began walking back to our vehicle, we felt someone following us. Fear sank in and we quickened our pace. Then, out of nowhere, we estimate a dozen coyotes were only a few yards behind us, forcing us into a full-on sprint back to the vehicle. Those coyotes were so close, we could hear them panting right behind us at our feet, but when we turned to look, we saw nothing. This freaked us out, so we started running as fast as we could. We made it back to the truck in one piece and never saw those coyotes. We raced back to the motel. It was around 1:30 a.m. At 3 a.m., the walls of our motel room began shaking violently, lasting over 10 minutes. At first, we suspected someone next door banging on the wall, but we heard no one talking. This was unusual because for the whole week we always heard conversions on both sides of our motel room. The walls seemed thin, so this made little sense. The next strange thing happened the following day, this time around 5 a.m. From the same motel room, we heard a loud humming sound throughout our room for almost 30 minutes. It was strange because when we walked outside, we didn't hear the sound. As soon as we walked back into the room, it was loud again. We suspected it was a washing machine or something. When we checked the laundry room, it was on the other side of the motel and the sound we were hearing was only in our room. Before checking out, we asked about noise complaints from other guests, but nobody else heard noises either night.
When I visited their motel to see if room 119 had a history of poltergeist or other paranormal activity, they said that it used to. But because the attendant hadn't heard of any recent activity, she believed it must have been some time ago since the last haunting. Honestly, I don't believe the motel was haunted. I wanted to check to see if there was a history in that unit. I also think someone out at the ranch had a bit of fun with them and kept them from getting a good night's sleep. After all, they were the only people ever to admit being up to no good and wanting to go back and look around when nobody was looking.
If you keep us awake, we'll keep you awake.